Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to go ahead and create our first S3 bucket. So this is a lab and you will need to log into the AWS console. Okay, so here I am in the AWS console, and the first thing I want you to note is my region. So going forward throughout the rest of this course, I would recommend that you change your region to Northern Virginia. The reason for that is Northern Virginia is where AWS roll out all their new products first. If you select a region that's relatively new, such as Stockholm, you might not have all the products and services that are available to you. So what we want to do is we want to find S3. So S3 is a storage service and it is under storage. So we're going to click on storage in here, and that will open up our S3, basically our console. Now you can see up here that this has already changed to global. So when you create a bucket, you do choose which region it is, but when you go and view all your buckets, you get a global view. So that's all that is. So let's go ahead and create a bucket. Now, if you remember from the last lecture, I said bucket names must be unique. So if we type in test bucket, for example, and hit create, it's going to say that that bucket name already exists. So you must have a unique name. Now, someone has taken a Cloud Guru from me, unfortunately, but I'm going to do a Cloud Guru 2019. Let's try that. And in here, we can choose our region. So I'm going to do mine in US East 1, so Northern Virginia. And I don't have any existing buckets, so I'm not going to copy any settings. Let's go ahead and hit next. In here, okay, we can see that the bucket name already exists. I'm going to put my name after that. So 2019 Ryan. Oh my God, I swear this isn't my bucket. Somebody has just taken the name. So I'm going to do Ryan Kronenberg, and then I'm going to put pi in there, 3.1415, etc., etc. So there we go. Now I've got a unique bucket name. So in here, we've got all our different properties. I'm going to show you how to change this after we create a bucket. So we could turn on versioning, we could turn on server access logging, and this basically logs requests for your access to your bucket. We could start doing tags, we could do object level tagging, we could automatically enable encryption. You've got advanced options in here, so we can permanently allow objects in this bucket to be locked. I'm not going to do any of this. I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. In here, this is really important. This is quite a new screen, but basically, if you want to make any of your objects public, so if you want to be able to view them, you have to make sure all these boxes are unticked. Now, for now, we're just going to leave them all as ticked, and I'll show you how we can resolve that a little bit later. So let's go ahead and hit next, and this will just review all our settings. Let's go ahead and hit create bucket. So there we go. I've created my very first bucket. So let's go ahead and click in here. So this is a bucket. This is where we can upload our files. Why don't we go ahead and do that first? So let's click upload and let's go and add some files. Okay, so I've got two files in here. I've got a picture of me and Faye at Replay. Faye is our instructor for the Developer Associate and SysOps Administrator Associate, and I work with her in the London office. And I've also got a photo of me and my brother meeting Jeff Barr. Let's go ahead and hit upload. Now you can see here we're going to get a success, and this is basically sent back a HTTP 200 code to our browser saying that these objects have been uploaded successfully. So if we click on the first object, we'll be able to see a whole bunch of different information. So we can see in here the key, and so the key is its name. So it's called fayryanreplay.jpg. We can see the size. We can see if it's got an expiration date. We can see a whole bunch of different objects, a whole bunch of different data. And in here, you've got the object URL. So if we clicked on this and tried to access this object, it says access denied, access denied. Now, the reason this object is access is denied is because we haven't made this object public. So it's really important to understand that whenever you put stuff into S3, it takes quite a bit of work to make those things public. And I'll show you how we can make it public in a second. So I've just gone back. If I click back on my bucket up here, and if I click on here, I can go and do some actions to this object. So I can download, I can open it, I can change the storage class, I can go ahead and make it public. Let's go ahead and try and make this object public. So I clicked on make public, and you can see down here it says an error, 100% failed. Now, if you remember when we created our bucket, we had all those checkboxes. So if we go back to S3 and we click in here, we can go and edit our public access settings. And when you go and edit it, by default, these are now unchecked. So if you go ahead and hit save, it's going to ask you to confirm. So I'm going to go in and type confirm. And there you go. You can see now that objects can now be public. So the access level has been changed. So let's go back into our bucket by clicking in here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make me and Faye's this object public. So I want to be able to view it. So I'm going to go to actions and I'm going to go down to make public. And I'm going to go ahead and click on make public. You can see that has now been successful. If I click on the object and click on the link, it should load a picture of me and Faye. And there we are at reInvent for 2018. This is the big party at the end of reInvent's called Replay. And you can see we've got these shirts on that light up. So they were battery powered and basically lit up our logo. It was pretty cool. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to go over to my bucket again. I'm going to do the same with the photo of me and Jeff. So I'm just going to go ahead and make public. And this is how you go ahead and make our objects public on an individual basis. So I click on here, we should be able to see there's me and my brother with Jeff Barr, and this was at reInvent in 2017. So let's go back to our bucket and look what else we can do on an object level basis. So we can go and click on here and we can go to the properties and we can change things like the storage class. So I could say, okay, I want this to use intelligent tiering. We can do this on an object level as well as a bucket level. So I'm going to do this on an object level. I'm going to turn on intelligent tiering. And so that has just done it for this object. If I click on here, you can see storage class intelligent tiering. Click on the one with Jeff, it's just standard. So far we're editing everything at an object level. If we wanted to change the properties at a bucket level, we would click up here. So these are the properties, permissions, and management. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these. We will cover off versioning in this course. We will cover off static website hosting, and we will cover off some parts of encryption. That's going to be the next lecture, as well as transfer acceleration. That's what you need to know. Those three are the main ones that you need to know in order to pass your Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. If you want to learn all about S3, we do have a S3 deep dive course on the A Cloud Guru platform. In here, we control the permissions for our buckets. So this allows us to edit the public settings. We then can also do access control lists. Access control lists can go all the way down to an object, an individual object. So you could block one spreadsheet, but allow other spreadsheets to be read. Bucket policies work on an entire bucket level. So you could put a bucket policy in to make all objects in the bucket public, and we will do that when we create a serverless website at the very last section. Likewise, we'll look at cores in the very last section of the course when we create our serverless website. And in here we've got our management. This is where we set up lifecycle rules. This is where we set up replication, so cross-region replication. We are going to cover off both of these in this section of the course. So what have we learned about S3? Let's summarize. So onto my exam tips. What have we learned? We did cover off a lot of these in the last lecture, but I'm just going to remind you. So buckets are a universal namespace. You can't share the same name. When you upload an object to S3, your browser is going to get a HTTP 200 code. There's a bunch of different storage classes. You need to remember these going into your exam. So we've got S3, S3 infrequently accessed, S3 infrequently accessed one zone, and we then have Glacier. We have different flavors of Glacier depending on our retrieval times. And then finally, we learned that you can control access to your buckets either using a bucket ACL or using bucket policies. And we looked at that briefly. We will use bucket policies when we go to the serverless section of the course where we create a serverless website. So we will look at that later on in this course. So that is it for this lecture, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture, which is about encryption.